Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new to this little corner of the internet where all my brain dumps go. How you doing? Happy to have you here. Today I'm coming at you with a really exciting video, hopefully. A video that I'm excited for anyway. That is my anticipated releases of 2023, but specifically my anticipated releases of 2023 from Black British writers. These are books that are on my radar. I have spent so much time on the bookseller, talking to other people, etc. Because obviously I'm super cool and just super fun. And I've compiled a list of Black British releases that really should be on your radar. They're on mine, now I'm putting them on yours. I personally think that Black British writing is truly in its it era. They're the it girl this year. I think there are so many amazing books coming out. There are so many people on the come up, debuts, new releases, etc. So I thought I'd share them with you guys so that you guys can get an inkling of what's happening. And I don't know, maybe you guys could read some. I do it with you guys for when these books come out and then they're amazing, to be like, nobody told us or nobody warned us. This is me telling you, this is me warning you. The train is at the station. This is final boarding. This is your last call to get on. And if you're traveling with us, let's go. I don't know why I took such a travel-centered train imagery, but anyway, this is your daily reminder to support strikes and train drivers and everything. So I've got some new releases that are on my radar that I'm going to share with you guys, and I hope that you enjoy them. The way that I've done this is I've tried to be as chronological as possible, and so I'm going from books that are being released ASAP to a bit later on in the year. Definitely quite front loaded, between now and June. Maybe we'll do another one of these for July on, but these are definitely quite front loaded, I'm not gonna lie. Also another thing is I'm using British release dates as well as the British publishing house or imprint that's publishing it. So it'll be different if you live, let's say, in the US, but this should pretty much be the standard if you live in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, that kind of thing. And then finally, final note is that I have personally described these books as Black British publishing. These are people that have ties to Britain and happen to be black. Some of these people definitely have ties elsewhere. They're part of the diaspora, and so they might self-identify as something else, but they have a tendency to be Ghanaian, British, etc. So I just want to make that pretty clear, just in case these people don't self-identify that way, but just for the purposes of this video, that's how I've chosen to compile this list and also name to group what it is. So now that all those tidbits are out of the way, let's start with books that I'm excited for this year. Okay, so I've got my laptop because my memory is really not that good, but I've got all the information down, all the blurbs, all the key info, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, let's go with the first book that I'm very excited for, very much on my radar, and I'm very excited for it to come out, and it is Mame by Jessica George. This is being published by Horder and Starton, and it's out February the 14th, 2023. So if you, like me, have no Valentine's Day plans, this could be, oh my god, we could do a little reading group on Valentine's Day for all us sad single people. But you know what? It's fine. The blurb says, meet Maddie Wright. All of her life she's been told who she is. To her Ghanaian parents she's Mame, the one who takes care of the family, her mum stand-in, the primary carer for her father who suffers from Parkinson's, the one who keeps the peace and the secret. It's time for her to speak up. When she finally gets the chance to leave home, Maddie is determined to become the kind of woman she wants to be. One who wears a bright yellow suit, dates men who definitely aren't on her mum's list of prospective husbands, and stands up to her boss's microaggressions. Someone who doesn't have to Google all of her life choices. But when tragedy strikes, Maddie is forced to face the risks and rewards of putting her heart on the line. But will it take losing everything to find her voice? I read this blurb, it must have been 2 months ago now, and it's stuck with me ever since. I am very excited. I'm very excited for this book because I think it's going to be very much like a African daughter finding her feet, finding her voice, and finding her steps. I'm assuming she's the eldest just from this description. If not the only child, I'm assuming she's the eldest, if not the eldest daughter. And I think this is an experience that a lot of African daughters can relate to. The idea of both wanting to please your parents but also wanting to be your own person. And so I think this is going to be very relatable for people. Yeah, and I'm very excited to see a bit of a coming of age story. I love coming of age stories. I just find them so heartwarming, and so that's why I'm really excited for this book. I think it could be really funny. I'm getting very much like independent girly, but like, is she an independent girly vibes? And so I'm really excited for this. This comes out February, like I said, and so this will probably be the first book on this list that I read, because yeah, I might go pre-order this after this video is done, actually. That could be a shout. Okay, so the next book that we're going to talk about is Rootless by Christelle Zara Appiah. This is being published by HarperCollins and it's coming out March 16th. I keep having the urge to be like, oh my god, it's coming out March 16th, 2023. This is my 2023 anticipated read. Of course it's coming out this year. But this says it is a provocative debut novel about a marriage in crisis that asks the question, can you ever be rooted in a home that's on the brink of collapse? On a spring afternoon in London, Sam hops the stairs of his flat 2 at a time. There's £1,300 missing from him and his wife's FA's shared bank account, and his calls are going straight to voicemail. When he finally reaches someone, he learns FA is nearly 5,000 miles away as their toddler looks around and asks, where's mummy? When FA and Sam met as teens headed for university, it seemed everyone knew they were meant to be. FA, newly arrived in the UK from Ghana and sinking under the weight of her parents' expectations, found comfort in the focused and idealistic Sam. He was stable, working toward a law career, and had an unwavering vision of their future. A vision FA, now a decade later, finds slightly insufferable. From the outside, they're the picture-perfect couple everyone imagined, but there are cracks in the frame. When FA and Sam are faced with an unplanned pregnancy, they find themselves on opposing sides. Fatherhood is everything he has ever dreamed of, but FA feels stuck in a nightmare. Effie. And when a new revelation emerges, they're forced to confront just how radically different they want their lives to be. Already swallowed by the demands of motherhood and feeling the dreams she had slipping away once again, Effie disappears. That sounds so interesting. I love looks into marriages and like the intimate parts of a relationship and books like that. Similar vibes, I'm guessing, or like I'm sensing, to Memorial by Brian Washington, which was one of my favorite books that I read a few years ago. I love when books look at the ordinary like interworkings of people's like day-to-day lives and like don't have to look at like this like grand systemic problems. Obviously like systemic problems I assume like run like a low-key narrative, because if you're a minority they probably will do, but I really love it when like authors just look at like the minutiae, the everyday, the rigmarole of just like living and being in a relationship. And so this book is one that I'm assuming will break my heart. Like I'm fully ready to have like my heart stomped on, but in the best way possible. And so I'm just so excited for this book. It comes out in March and I think this could be a contender for one of my favorite books of the year, like of like next year if I had to guess. But I don't like putting too much pressure because then I get disappointed and I don't like being disappointed. So yeah. The next one is Ada's Realm by Sharon Dodua Otu. This is coming out of Maclehose Press, which is an imprint of Hatchet, I'm pretty sure. And it's coming out March 28th. So it says, where is Ada? In a small village in West Africa, and what will one day become Ghana, Ada gives birth again, and again the baby does not live. As she grieves the loss of her child, Portuguese traders become the first white men to arrive in the village, an event that will bear terrible repercussions for Ada and her kin. When is Ada? Centuries later, Ada becomes the mathematical genius Ada Lovelace. Ada, a prisoner forced into prostitution in a Nazi concentration camp, and Ada, a young pregnant Ghanaian woman with a new British passport who arrives in Berlin in 2019 for a fresh start. Who is Ada? Ada is not one woman, but many. She is all women. She revolves in orbits, looping from one century and from one place to the next, and so she experiences the hardships but also the joy of womanhood. She's a victim, she offers resistance, and she fights for her independence. This sounds like it's going to be just a wonderful story of like feminism and resistance and resilience and what it means to actually be a woman, specifically black woman, living through all these different periods, living through all these different like things and the like connecting thread that binds them. And I think that sounds so interesting. I'm really intrigued to see like kind of like what vibe this will go down. Like will it go down a magical realism vibe? Will it go down just quite like a, I don't know, like I think there are so many ways that the story could go. This is the one that I would say that I'm probably the most apprehensive about. Like the blurb definitely got me excited, but I'm very apprehensive about it because like there are certain writing styles that I just don't mesh with, and this has the possibility to be one of them. However, the blurb sounds great. the premise sounds interesting. I love like an overarching time span story about and like with interconnected threads. And so that could, I don't know, I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so we'll see in March what I think. Actually, comes out at the end of March. We'll probably see in April, I think, knowing myself. Okay, so this is another book that I'm excited for because of the same reason that I'm excited for Rootless, and it is the idea of like ordinary stories and looking at ordinary stories and looking at a lot of minutiae and the introspective of relationships. So this has that same vibe, and it is Small Joys by Elvin James Mensah. This is being published by Scribner and it's set to come out April 13th, so very excited for that one. The blurb says, could I one day inspire happiness in others the same way he seemed to do in me? Harley is a young queer black man struggling to find his way in mid-noughties Britain. Returning home to Dartford, having just dropped out of an undergraduate course in music journalism, he's racked by feelings of failure and inadequacy. Standing in the local woods one day, on the verge of doing something drastic and irreversible, his hand is stayed by a stranger, a tall husky guy who emerges from the bushes holding a pair of binoculars. Muddy is an ebullient Mancunian whose lust for his own life makes others feel better by association. A keen bird watcher, rugby fanatic, and Oasis obsessive, he quickly becomes a devoted and loyal friend to Harley, who finds his enthusiasm infectious and his dimples irresistible. In no time at all, they become inseparable. Harley starts to think that life may be worth living after all, while Muddy discovers things about himself that the lads down the rugby club may struggle to understand. But when figures from the past threaten to plunge Harley back into the depths of depression, his only hope of survival is Muddy and the small joys that they create together. Sorry, does that not just sound like one of the best like blurbs ever? So I like this book because one, northern representation up the fucking north, mate, with the Manc. But I also, like, in my head, I think I can picture perfectly the types of people they are, because like I feel like you know the kind of like rugby Oasis like lads in the UK. If you don't, come to the north of England, I'll show you, but like you kind of know them, and so like I can almost like picture the kind of like people that like this is going to revolve around, and I feel like I know those kinds of people, you know, to know like young queer black men and to know like those kinds of like northern boys. Like it feels like these are like real stories about real people that like my community definitely has, and so I'm very excited for that. I'm also excited for, again, like the concept of ordinary lives and like talking about people's just like ordinariness and like the things that go on in their life. I love it. I'm so excited for it. Yes. Okay, so the next book that I have got to talk about is Rosewater by Liv Little. Liv Little is the founder of Galdem, which, if you don't know, Galdem is like an online publication, and they also publish zines, I'm pretty sure, where like writers of colour can come and pitch articles. I actually have their book somewhere. Here it is. I have their book, which is I Will Not Be Erased, our stories about growing up as people of colour from Galdem. Need to read this. It's been on my shelf for a little while because my friend Sana sent it to me very nicely. So that's Galdem. So this book is being published by ‑check, I'm pretty sure, and it's set to be published on the 20th of April. So it says, Elsie is a sexy, funny, fiercely independent woman in South London, but at just 28 she's also tired. Though she spends her days writing tender poetry in her journal, her nights are spent working long hours for minimum wage at a neighbourhood dive bar. Not even sleeping with her alluring co-worker Beer can quell her existential dread. The difficulty of being estranged from her family, struggle of being continually rejected from jobs, and fear of never making money doing what she loves is too great. But Elsie is determined to keep the faith, for a little longer at least. Things will surely turn around. They have to. But when Elsie is suddenly evicted from her social housing, her fragile foundations threaten to collapse entirely. With nowhere left to go, Elsie turns to her childhood friend Juliet for help. Among Juliet's mismatched cushions, shelves lined with trinkets, Elsie is able to breathe for the first time in years. But between their reruns of Drag Race and nights smoking on the balcony, something else soon begins to glimmer in Elsie's heart. Sometimes what you've been searching for has been there all along. Can Elsie see it in time? This feels like it's gonna be like very like gritty, sexy, fun, and like a like not fun as in like funny, but like fun as in like it's like, do you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's a very like different kind of fun. But I'm very excited for this book. I think this could be like a very like plotless book in terms of like very like character heavy, which usually isn't my type of jam, but I'm getting very much like almost like Luster by Raven Lalani vibes from this blurb. And while that wasn't my favorite book, like I can appreciate like the writing and maybe this will have really good writing. It's apparently got poetry like interwoven through it from Isaiah Jamal, and so I'm really excited to see how like that's all weaved in. Like yeah, I don't know, like I hope that this is a story about like growing up, finding yourself, healing, all of those kinds of things, love as well, things that I definitely love, and I'm excited to read it. So I will let you know how I feel about that book once I've read it. Okay, we're nearing the end, and so this next set of books all come out on the same day, the 11th of May. The 11th of May is going to be a very big day for me. It's also a couple weeks after my birthday, so hopefully I'll have birthday money to like really, you know, buy these books. But the first one is Small Worlds by Caleb Azuma Nelson. This is being published by Viking, and it comes out on the 11th of May, like I said. And this is the follow-up book, the next book from like Azuma Nelson, who wrote Open Water, which was a really big book, won a couple prizes, like the Costa book. Can't remember what it won, but like it definitely did the rounds, and I feel like everybody read it and everybody loved it. So this is the next book from Caleb Azuma Nelson. So it says, the one thing that can solve Stephen's problems is dancing. Dancing at church with his parents and brother, the shimmer of black hands raised in praise. He might have lost his faith, but he does believe in rhythm. Dancing with his friends, somewhere in a basement with the drums about to drop while the DJ spins garage cuts. Dancing with his band, making music which speaks not just the hardships of their lives, but the joys too. Dancing with his best friend Adeline, two-stepping around the living room, crooning and grooving, so close their heads might touch. Dancing alone at home to his father's records, uncovering parts of a man he has never truly known. Stephen has only ever known himself in song, but what becomes of him when the music fades? When his father begins to speak of shame and sacrifice, when his home is no longer his own, how will he find space for himself? A place where he can feel beautiful, a place where he might feel free. Set over the course of 3 summers in Stephen's life, from London to Ghana and back again, Small Worlds is an exhilarating and expansive novel about the worlds we build for ourselves, the worlds we live and dance and love within. I think it's a well-known fact that Caleb Azuma Nelson's writing is beautiful. Like, it's genuinely some of the most beautiful writing, and so I'm really excited to see what he does with the imagery of dance and music, which I personally love reading books about, like things like that, like things that I can relate to, because me, I love a dance. Catch me in the club, like, except not really anymore, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I love to dance. I find dancing as like a freeing thing, and so I'm really excited to see like how Azuma Nelson writes about it and like makes the book feel melodic, because in my head I think this book is going to be very melodic. Like, I think it's going to have a rhythm to it that only he can do. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited for like the like cross-continental setting as well, because I think those are always super interesting. My camera. Okay, we're back. Like I said, I was about to say, but I'm really excited about the cross-continent setting of being set in London and Ghana, as well as like all those kinds of things, like the mixture of identity and diaspora. Excited to explore if Caleb Azuma Nelson goes, excited to see if Caleb Azuma Nelson explores like the difference in identity of being in London and being on the continent. Like, I'm excited for all those things, and so I'm really excited to see. How many times can I say excited? Take a shot every time I do it. Please don't, please don't do that. Okay, the next book is Azuka, my not great language skills. This is by Ni Ayi Parks, and it's being published by People Tree Press on the 11th of May. People Tree Press are a publishing house that only publish writers that are black, I'm pretty sure, and also from like Africa or the Caribbean or like in the diaspora. So like, amazing work. We love a publishing house like that. So this is a book that's coming out. It says Azuka, meaning sugar, is a novel about belonging in a world where all things are on the move. People, ideas, foods, and not least music. Oswald Corley Osabute Jr., henceforth Junior, leaves his family in Accra to travel to the mythical Caribbean island of Fumas, think tobacco, where the revolutionary philosophy of peopleism just about keeps its flame alive against the forces of an old-style command centre, political bureaucracy, and stifling trade blockade from the big imperialist neighbour to the north. Junior brings the knowledge of the scientist, the skills of a farmer, and the heart and invention of a musician to his life in Fumas. As a scientist, he must find some way of rescuing the island's famed sweet rice industry from collapse. As a farmer, he sees how much of his West African food has journeyed across the Atlantic to make the island's unique cuisine. As a musician, he becomes part of the spirit that puts the island on the world stage. Out of all in proportion to its size. This novel of ideas. This is a novel of ideas. How much is accidental in the world? How much can be planned? It has much to say about the impact of colonialism on the fragile ecology of the land, but it is the pursuit of love and tragedy of death, the interweaving of moments of harmony and moments of conflict, and the motives of vividly drawn characters that are the drivers of this sometimes zany narrative. And there is always the texture of language to enjoy in a book whose prose is as flowing, elegant, and heartfelt as the music that moves freely back and forth across the seas between Africa and the Caribbean. Main thing I'm really excited about this book is that it's a narrative set in Africa and the Caribbean. I think a lot of the books that I have, when they have like a diaspora like part to it, or like a movement part of it, it moves to like the US or the UK, you know, like in these like global north, like global minority countries. And so I'm really excited for a narrative that explores maybe like something else. And so this is why this book really caught my eyes. I'm very apprehensive about it. Like, I think it could genuinely be one of the best books that I've read in terms of like looking at all like the impact of colonialism, but in like a way that like also focuses on the people. Because I think sometimes that like aspect is a little bit lost, like when we discuss things like colonialism or like the movement of people, like how the people actually like were affected by it rather than like the big structural things. So excited to see what this book does. We'll see, right? We'll see. Okay, and then the last book coming out on this day is The Three of Us by Ore Agbeje Williams, which is being published by Vintage. So the blurb says, a nice house, a carefree life, a doting husband, a best friend who never leaves your side. What more could you ask for? There's just one problem. Your husband and best friend love you, but they hate each other. So over the course of a single day, husband, wife, and best friend Temi toe the lines of compromise and betrayal, told in 3 parts. Each voice as compelling as the next. 3 people's lives and their visions of themselves and each other begin to slowly unravel until a startling discovery throws everyone's integrity into question. Full of intrigue, idiosyncratic wit, and a healthy dose of wealth and snobbery, The Three of Us is part suburban millennial comedy of manners, part domestic noir. Hello. Absolutely love that. I think this is going to be like rich people and their rich people problems, which, if you know me, is a book that is a type of book, genre of book that I really hate. And that's predominantly because they're usually like white rich people and they're like white rich problems. I'm really excited for this take on it. I'm really excited to see if it will change my view on how I feel about those kinds of books. If like, do you know what I mean? I'm interested, I'm intrigued to see how I'll like go about it. Especially like, I think it's gonna have like really like edgy vibes. The like blurb or like the like, do you know like I can't even, my brain's gone blank, but like when they advertise a book and they're like fans of my like it's compared to things like I May Destroy You and My Sister the Serial Killer. And if you know me, you know that I really enjoy My Sister the Serial Killer. Like I really love how it's written, the wit, the kind of like banter that flows through it, the like not taking itself too seriously aspect of it. So I'm hoping that this really comes through in this book as well. And if it does, it could be a contender for like a really good book. So I'll keep you updated in like May about how I feel about this. Okay, and then the last book that we're going to talk about is The List by Yomi Adegoke, sorry. This is being published by HarperCollins and it's coming out on the 6th of July. I love Yomi Adegoke. They wrote, they were part of the duo that wrote Slay in Your Lane, which I love that book. If you met me 4 years ago when I was like, or 5 years ago when I was really struggling to come into like my own, that book was like a book that I used a lot as a reference point, and this is their debut novel, so I'm excited about it. So it says Ola Jide, as a high-profile journalist and woman, is marrying the love of her life in 1 month's time. Young, beautiful, successful, she and her fiance Michael are couple goals of their social networks and seem to have it all. That is until one morning when they both wake up to the same message. Oh my god, have you seen The List? I am thinking like Sex and the City. I am thinking like Such a Fun Age vibes. I am hoping that this is just like one of those books that has me like enthralled from start to finish, like captivated, like cannot put it down. I love things like this. Like, oh, I hate to be that girl, but I do love a little bit of celebrity gossip. Like, I do love it when people are like, oh my god, Moore has released this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find it interesting, and so I think this will like really appeal to that part of my personality, the part of my personality that's like very interested in other people's lives. And so I'm hoping that like I'm going to like in my head I've got it down as like I will read this in one sitting, like I'm going to be like turning the pages, like I need to know what's happening. So that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this book. But yeah, those are all the books. Those are all the books. Well, let's say all the books. Those are all the books that I've got for you guys. Those are some of the books that I'm really anticipating for the year. Obviously, there are other books that are absolutely on my radar that aren't necessarily coming from Black British Publishing. I think there's a lot of really interesting books coming out of like Africa as well this year. So if you want another video like this, if you like absolutely love the sound of my voice and want to hear me talk about books that are maybe coming out of Africa, let me know. But yeah, I am hopefully... I'm hoping that maybe some of you guys pick these up, maybe some of you guys read it, maybe we could do some buddy reads, we could set up like a little book club, you never know. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this. If you guys have any books that you're kind of really anticipating that you think should be on my radar, drop them down in the comments below, because I'm always looking for ideas. I'm always looking for new silly ways in which I can spend what little money I make. So yeah, that is all I've got, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to come back for next time. I don't know how, when, but come back. See you soon.